just not money. Never had to afford me. Now I'm sick.
What's going on, y'all? Long time since I have done a video, but I am back. I told you I would be back with my book reviews. I've gotten into several books, and we are going to talk about two of them today. Show and Tell by NOBIA BRYANT, national best-selling author. Let me shut Brandy off in the background. I like that new CD, by the way. You know, I'm not a huge fan. I know she got a few stands out there, but this it's a pretty good CD. But anyway, which way? This is about four friends that have been friends since they were very, very, very young, and it shows their evolution into womanhood. They all give themselves these crazy nicknames named after like champagne and wine, like Alizé, Dom, Crystal. Really silly, but we all know some people probably named that, so we're not gonna dwell on that too long. But this was a good book. This was a very good book. I read it in a matter of 2 days. Now, I usually read my books as I'm taking the train. It helps me focus all the stops, all those crazy people. I tune them out and I get into the book. And this I read so fast. I will say this. I will give this a must read for young women that are either living with any kind of substance abuse or physical abuse. It really gets into the child. Like, you have one girl whose mother was a drug addict. I was about to say crackhead, but I want to be the technical term. Whose mother was a drug addict, abandoned, and never told her about her father. Thus, she had so many issues growing up. Like, she was smoking with her mom, and she was really in her preteen, so it was nothing to her to live a very carnal life as she became an adult. And in her adult, she was stripping. I mean, she was addicted to drugs. I mean, it was the cycle. You know, she was starting not to care for her life. And finally, she decided that she'd turn her life around step by step. And in that process of healing, you know, you have to go and revert back to some of the people that brought you there, like her mother, for saying they had the big back and forth, because she now is a mother and she wants to totally do the opposite. And in this way, she finds a man that really, really, really likes her, but is afraid to open up because, you know, of her past. Eventually, everything works all out. She actually meets her actual father. How he comes into the story, you'll have to read the book, but it was a really good surprise. Then you have the one girl who grew up in foster care, and, you know, all through her foster care, she's like, I'm going to make it, I'm going to be big, I'm going to do this, and I'm never going to want for anything, and all that kind of stuff. She has these delusions of grandeur. Well, she gets a taste of high society life, and it's not what she expected. While she was working, she was approached by a woman who takes her under her wing, and they live this fabulous life, and she ends up leaving the four friends, and they're worried about her, and she has a man that really loves and cares for her, but doesn't have the money that she, not say requires, but she doesn't have the money he thinks he should have, because she thinks that money is the root to all happiness. Well, she finds out at the end that that is definitely not the case, that she should have just stayed with the brother that she was content living with them both working, because with that came real love, real true, genuine love. And all that money and all that craziness, just, you know, it just wasn't for her at the end of the day. And then you had the girl who was raised in a very religious home. And of course, you know, she breaks loose, gets pregnant very early. You know, tries to mold her life after an incident that she had running loose with a thug. And it turns out you know, that the thug, you know, trying to get back at her. He thought she was cheating on him, tried to get back at her. Her world's coming storm as she's trying to find her way back to the church. And all these tests and trials start coming her way. Like, she starts dating one of the deacons at the church, and he's celibate, and, you know, she's not liking that, and all the kind of, she was ready to cut it loose. But in all, comes to terms with her spirituality versus her actual reality, and she struggles with that, and that was a very good story. And then what's going on with the last girl? It was 4 of them. Oh, the one whose mom, that's the one, that one whose parents who gave up on a love lost. She was dating somebody back that was very good, and he didn't have his come up yet, and she ends up interning for him, and he gets married, and she finds out that the whole time while she was chasing others, the one she truly let slip away slipped away. And all in all, they end up at the end finally confessing that she really, truly, truly loved him. She just couldn't say that. She couldn't say that she loved him, and he was in love with her, and finally recognizing that all along, you had love sitting there in front of your face. You know, why? Women answer me that question. You have, even though, you know, it's not just, I would have to say, people that really don't realize, they've been saying that the grass is greener on the grass ain't always greener on the other side, man. And I don't know if I'm even saying that correct, but you know the analogy. And they've been saying it for years, and yet when you have true love, don't let it go. I mean, don't let it go. They had a controversial statement about this guy that wrote to the Princeton girls and said, if you want to really find your husband, find him on campus. And it was very controversial because people were saying, no, women have to find a husband and need a husband, blah, blah, blah. But what happens is you ended up having a lot of very successful women, and they coming down to their 30s and they get into panic mode. And in panic mode, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? My eggs are going to dry up, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to find it. Now it's going to be even harder to find a man because now he's not going to be the equivalent of the success that you have gained. Now, I'm not saying don't work, don't educate yourself and all that kind of stuff. But what I think that the person that wrote that newsletter was really trying to say was that the guys that have the potential to take you where you want to go and be hand in hand is the man that's sitting right in front of your face in that classroom. He will be the next big thing to come, you know, and all that good stuff. Somebody's texting me, blowing up my phone. I'm about to head over here to the gym. Been drinking my shakes, you know. It's all good. It's in my office / guest room. But yeah, this show and tell. Now, BRYANT. It was very good. It was very good. Very good. You know, I wonder how they were going to wrap up all the stories that weren't happy endings, but they were conclusions. They were definitely conclusions on what happens when you stray away from that. The next book, I don't even know how I came across this. Can y'all see it? Let me bring it out. From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. This was written by E.L. KONIGSBURG. Looked like it was a Newbery Award classic. It wasn't really a children's book, but what it was about, it takes place in a past time where this little girl feels the struggles of doing the chores of life are just struggles. That's her struggle. But she's going to escape. And she saves up the money and concocts this plan to run away. She's going to run away to the Natural Museum of Art in New York, because they live in upstate New York. And she tries to devise a plan, but her plan gets a little jaded when she doesn't have enough money, but she knows somebody who does have enough money saved up because they pinch pennies, and that's her brother. So she has to take her little brother with her, who's about 10. I'm guessing that day about 10 or 10 and 12. Who knows? They really don't get into the age at that point. I know they are children. And they escape. They catch the train and they escape and they find some way to stay in the museum and they sleep in the museum at night. And there's no alarms at this day and age, at that day and time. I mean, so they end up staying over there, and then they discovered that this painting called Angel, and they're intrigued by it, and then they try to discover the clues behind it, if it really was drafted by not Leonardo, I can't think of who that is, but it was a famous, like Michelangelo. It was somebody, a really famous sculptor, and they try to figure out how that, and they somehow end up staying. They end up going to find the actual person that sold it to the museum, which is Basil E. Frankweiler. And in that discovery, this is an elderly woman who collects art. She's very wealthy, and she tries to delve into these two psyche and really get to know them. And it's a really good little book. It's a really good little book. I read this in no time too. I thought it was very, very cute. If there's a word for it, cute, definitely cute. That's what we're going to say. But it was very good. It was very good. I didn't have no complaints about either of the books at all. I will get into some more. I read a book from Evelyn Harris. I read a book from Carl Weber, and I finally finished the last book from the Dutch trilogy from Terry Wood's Dutch 3. I definitely want to get into that. I was not happy with the ending. They wrapped it up so fast. I know why, because you just can't keep it going and going and going and going and going. You have to somehow wrap it up. But she could have made a fourth book. I mean, like, really, like this. She wrapped it up way too fast for me during the conclusion of it. She bought all the books, Angel, she bought all the other Dutch trilogies, she bought all that in cohesiveness. She bought it all together. And we get to figure out what the heck is going on behind the scenes. So it was really good. So I'm going to get into those in my next commentary. Continue to comment. I'm getting a lot of subscribers. I'm very happy like that. They must like the music on my page. I like that. I hope they are really getting into these books. If you have any suggestions for me to read and order, I'm going to order some Amazon books. Also, my books are on sale, Shortyrocks 67 on Amazon.com. I sell all these books if you want to get into one or two. I'm blowing up my phone. Just let me know. Holla, comment, all that good stuff. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, deuces.
In the next night.